Okay, so let me share it. I hope it is visible. Am I audible to you and my screen is visible to you? Yeah, okay, we'll carry on now. So TCP, now we have seen the header of IP, right? Now TCP header means transport layer protocol. We have something called TCP. The header of TCP, let us try to see, right? So header of TCP, we already know about what is TCP and UDP, right? We did that long back. Now let us see the header. So how the header of TCP will look. So first is what is source port, the port of source IP address, sorry, source process, right? So that is what is source port. So I'll write here MS Paint, or let me open the same thing which was earlier. Yeah, this one. So source port means what? Suppose you are writing cdac.in on Firefox and you want to browse this. So Firefox has it will create a port for particular process, right? So if I am typing this onto that web browser, where is that web browser? Is this, right? For this one port, it will open. So that port is nothing, it's a source port, right? So here they will write in the header as a source port. This is the header, source port. What is the destination port? Means the port number at the destination side, the receiver side. So is there, here we have written the random number. So it's a 16-bit random number will come. This is fixed 80 port or 443 because we are using HTTP protocol that will be used as a 80 as a port number. Now next is what? It is actually called sequence 32-bit sequence number. Now what do you mean by sequence number? So TCP will always assign a unique sequence number to each byte which has been transmitted from one system to other system. That sequence number actually will be assigned here. And then the acknowledgement number, whatever data you have received, right? So you will give the acknowledgement. So that acknowledgement will come here. So I'll say that my data, this much data I have received, right? And this I am acknowledging up to that data. So this is acknowledgement number. Next is what? Length of this header. This whatever header is there, what is the length of that header? That will be coming here. Now this 6-bit, which is not being used currently, it is for reserved. And then you have actually called some bits like sync bit and urgent bit, reserve bit and all. This all bit will be used for handshake, right? For example, if you see three-way handshake of TCP, TCP always follows something called three-way handshake. So in that three-way handshake, what will happen? You have this source. So let me say this is the source or sender. This is the destination or receiver, right? What will do for TCP handshake? TCP handshake source will send one packet, right? This packet is nothing the same in the header. They will write something called I'm sending you sync S. Okay, 1 minute. This is SYN, sync packet. So this is nothing, it's a sender. This is a receiver. So I am talking about three-way handshake of TCP protocol, right? Receiver. Okay, anyway, so this sync packet will come. So sync packet will be always mentioned here in your packet. So this particular sync field, this bit will be set 1. Means this is the sync packet which will be sent, right? Here no acknowledgement number, nothing will be there. Sequence number also, but nothing will be there. Source port destination will be there, and this is the sync packet. I'm just trying to connect you. Once this is been done, now receiver, what it will do? Receiver will send one more packet. In that, what is written? It will be written. It will be written that a packet will be SYN plus ACK. What does that mean? So here, this ACK bit will be set as a 1, and the sync bit will be set as a 1, right? This is 1. This is 1 means I am just acknowledgement. I am giving that. Okay, you can connect. Now, third thing, this is first, this is second. The third thing, 3-way handshake. Third thing, what will happen? This will send one more packet, right? It will say that ACK, acknowledgement, ACK, right? So once this three-way handshake is over, they will try to communicate, they will try to send the data or whatever, right? So this is the three-way handshake, THREE, three-way handshake, right, between sender and receiver. So this in third, only ACK bit will be set. So these are the bit. Push means you want to push some data, reset the connection and all. Urgent, any urgent thing is there or not. So these are some fields which can be used in TCP. Window size. Now what is window size? Window size will say that I will not acknowledge for each and every packet which you are sending. So if I'm sending one packet, I will not acknowledge to that because the process will become slow. In that case, you send me bunch of packets. Say you send me 10 packets. So after 10 packets, I will send you the acknowledgement. Once I'll receive those 10 packets, I'll send you the acknowledgement. So this is the window size, whether 10 packets, 100 packets, 200 packets, how many packets. So this is called a window size. So after that only, I will give you the acknowledgement, right? Again, for TCP, checksum is there, whether this header is correct or not, whether any error has come in the header or not. This checksum will say that, right? And some other options are there. So this is what is a TCP header. We'll just see this header once we'll use Wireshark, right? UDP, this already we have covered. What is UDP? It's a correction less, right? And it will be fast than TCP. UDP also has some header format. UDP will have again source port, destination port, right? Message length of this full data plus header. This is called message length, and the checksum means the error which it is there in header or not, right? And actual data will be there. So this is UDP, right? Then with this already we have covered what is HTTP. It is used for web browsing. This is the protocol. It always use TCP and it will use port number 80. If it is secure, then it will use port number 443. Secure means what? HTTPS. HTTP will always use 80. HTTPS will use 443. Okay. So in HTTP, we have something called URL, Uniform Resource Locator. So this is nothing. It's a URL, right? You can see this is the URL. So this is the protocol, right? Up to here, I can say this is the protocol. This part is nothing. It's a protocol, right? This is nothing. Up to here, it's a host name, right? This is what is called as a host name. Then if you are using port inside this, you can say this is the port number. And this is the directory where the file is stored or the website is stored. Under that directory, I am accessing this web page, right? So this is how the URL will look like. So here also, this is a protocol. This is nothing. It's a host name. This is the port number. This is a directory. And under directory, this is the file name, t.exe, executable file name, right? So this is nothing. It's a URL. So HTTP will use some method. So get method means what? I want to retrieve a website, a web page, right? Post will say for some processing I'm doing. Suppose I'm typing user and password. So that I am posting there to the website, right? Put means I want to send a file from my system to web server. So it's a put method. So like that, we have a lot of methods, right? So this packet we'll see once we'll open the Wireshark. Now what we'll do, we will say that we'll try to download Wireshark, we'll install Wireshark on our system, and then we'll see how Wireshark we can use it, right? So how to download Wireshark? How to download Wireshark? Okay, so let me minimize this. And what I'll say here, download Wireshark. Now, what is Wireshark first of all? Wireshark is a network packet sniffer. Network packet sniffer. What do you mean by that? So whatever packet which is coming from my system and going in the network, and whatever coming from network to my system, I can capture and see those packets using Wireshark, right? I can capture, I can see them, and then I can see, okay, this is the packet which actually look alike, and then we'll see how we can use Wireshark to actually see the network passwords. Now, this is the website from where you can download the Wireshark. It is the website name, wireshark.org. You can download Wireshark from this website and you can install it. So you have an installer here. So if your system is 64-bit, nowadays all the systems are of 64-bit only. If your old system, you can download this 32-bit installer. So I am installing it for Windows. I guess for my system already Wireshark is there. The size of this Wireshark is what? 58.6 MB, right? Very compact file what you have. It's not more than say 100 MB. Only 58 MB is there. So within a few seconds, you'll be able to download Wireshark. If you want, you can try it parallel on your systems. So now Wireshark is now available for me. It has been downloaded. So once the Wireshark is downloaded, what you do, you just have to run that. So I'll open the containing folder where it is downloaded. This is the Wireshark, right? This is the Wireshark. I double click on it and then I will install this Wireshark on my system, on Windows system, right? So for me, it is already installed. I need not to do anything. For me, the Wireshark is already installed. I need not to do anything. So if it is already installed, how you can use Wireshark? So if you open Wireshark here, you can see this is the Wireshark. This is the Wireshark. So this is the shark that you can say fin, right? So it's a Wireshark. This you have to open. So you can see for me, it has been opened here. It says that it has a new release which you have to install. So I don't want to install this new release for the time being. I'll do it later. Otherwise, it will again restart my system. Sometimes it's required. I'll say remind me later. Remind me later. So this is the first page to see Wireshark, right? This is the first page. Now here in this Wireshark, you will see here a lot of network connection, right? So you can see I have one network connection which is up and running, which is which one is this local area? I guess this Ethernet, right? Yeah, this Ethernet 10.182.2.221. The IP address is actually shown me there. So here, this one. So this particular interface, which is called Ethernet here, this Ethernet. So on this Ethernet, I am running Wireshark. So whatever traffic which is coming on this interface, I will try to capture, right? I will try to capture those traffic which is coming to my system, this particular Ethernet interface. So here, to capture anything, you can have capture filter. So we'll not talk filter now here. We'll try to capture our live traffic. So if I click on Ethernet and say start, so you have something called start, right? Or you can say here start button is not there. Double click on that. Double click on this Ethernet interface. Now it is starting to capture the network packets. You can see continuously it is capturing the network traffic. So now I am live on this WebEx. So whatever traffic is going to you, it is showing me, right? And whatever I am seeing, it is showing me everything live network traffic I am seeing here. Now let us stop this. Let us stop this. So we have captured a lot of packets here. You can see lot of network packets from my system, wherever it is going. We saw that, right? So this pane or this particular pane will show you what? It will show you the packets which has been captured here, right? This pane will show you the packets which has been captured here. So we have a lot of packets. This is the packet number 1, 2, 3, 4 and all. This is the packet number, right? Okay. And this is the source IP address, my system's IP address. This is the destination IP address. It may be the IP address of say WebEx, because my video is going to you. Always they are using UDP. You can see, because video is very important, right? So my video is going to you, so UDP is going. So my system to this UDP it is going, right? So now you see UDP. Let us see TCP first. Okay, let us see TCP first. So you have a TCP. This is the TCP. Let us see this TCP, right? TCP header we have seen, IP header we have seen. That we'll just see. Now this pane will show you what? It will show you the packet which has been captured here along with the details what is the time when it is captured, who is the source, who is destination, what protocol it is using, right? What is the packet length, right? What is the packet length, and what is the information? Some little information only it is giving, right? So this is the pane. Now next is what this one more pane is there. This pane will show you the actual. You can see layers of TCP/IP. You can see we have 4 layers: application layer, network layer, and Ethernet layer, right? Sorry, application layer, transport layer, and Ethernet layer. So this TCP currently, okay, it is connection there is there, okay. So TCP application layer it has not shown you, right? So if we'll browse something, let us see when then we can get some application or not. Let us try to browse something. So I will say that, okay, I will open a web browser here. Let me open a web browser here actually. Yeah. So here, if I say refresh this, right, 2-3 times refresh means it is the packet is going and coming back. Let me stop it. Stop it. So continuously UDP is also going. So this is. Let us see whether we can get. Okay. So a lot of packets are there. These are UDP. These are the TCP. Right. Let me open any one of the TCP. This is the TCP packet, right? So you can see TCP header. This is the TCP header, right? This is nothing. It's a TCP header. So in the TCP header, you can see source port, a random port. Destination port is 443, means HTTP website, right? Which is secure. This is source port, destination port, right? What else you can see? You can see sequence number. You can see sequence number, acknowledgement number, flags, ACK and all. So if you see the TCP header, which we have seen here in the slides, same thing, using packets, you can actually see. Where is that slide here? Yeah, this slide. So if you see this TCP header, this source port, destination port, sequence number, acknowledgement number, and then this bits also we have seen, right? In the Wireshark, it is showing you. In the Wireshark, it is showing you. So these are the flags. Then Windows size, these many packets, 1022, right? Then any urgent pointer is there? No, we don't have. And then in the TCP, this is what is your payload, means actual data, right? This is the actual data, the payload, which has come from where? HTTP. So this data has come from HTTP. So here, this data is written in hexadecimal number. So this pane is nothing. It is hexadecimal number data. So now this is actually encrypted data, which is being shown here. It is junk which is showing you, right? It is the encrypted data because it is using HTTPS, means it is encrypting and showing you, right? So this is how the TCP will look alike. Now let us open IP version 4, IPv4. So IP header, if you see here, IP header, which we have seen earlier, this one. So here, if you see IP header, same thing will be mentioned here. Version, it is 0100, means IP version 4, which we already seen here. If it is 0100 means it is IPv4. Now next is internet header length. So internet header length will be, see, header length will be 20 byte. So only 20 byte header is there in this. Next is what? Type of service, right? Any service is there. So services, these services are mentioned, ECN or something like that for quality purpose, QS, right? Then after that, you have a total length. See total length. You can see here total length is 1500. Means total length of this packet 1500 bytes, bits 1500 bytes, sorry, 1500 bytes, right? This is the total length of the header, full header length. Sorry, total length is header plus data. Total length means header plus data. This is only header length. So this was only header length. This is the header length, 20 byte. Header plus data is total length. Then identification number, this identification number for each and every packet, some unique number is there. or 16-bit number is there. So here you can see this is the number, and it is in hexadecimal number. So if you click here, this is number 2630, right? And then any flag is there, right? Any flags are there for fragmentation, right? That will be used. Then TTL, time to leave. This time to leave 128. Once up to 128 hop, the packet will be discarded. So like that, this is time to leave of that packet. Then next protocol, what it is using? Next protocol, the upper layer protocol is TCP. It is used, right? Again, header checksum. If any header checksum is there, this is the header checksum. So validation, it is disabled now currently from the Wireshark, right? So this is the header checksum. It says verified. You can see header checksum is verified. Then what after that? This header checksum, source IP address. Who is the source? My system IP address is source, right? My system IP. So if you see that what we have drawn, same thing what we are seeing here. This we already seen TCP, source port, destination port, everything we have seen. Now source IP address they are writing here in the network layer. So source IP address means IP address of my system. So you can see the source IP address is what? IP address of my system. Now you see destination IP address, this the IP address of the website which I'm trying to browse or I was browsing. So this is the destination IP address, right? Apart from that, what else they are giving? That's all. Apart from that, they are not giving anything. So source IP, destinations. Now options are not there. So this is what is the header. So 20 byte of header of this IPv4, right? This is the header of IPv4. So this is only header. This part is header, right? This part is header. Now, if you see data link layer, I'll click the Ethernet. Second means data link layer. If you click here, this is the data link layer. Now, data link layer, it is showing this. What is the destination MAC address? So if you see that in our slides, same thing was written here. So it has not captured the preamble, right? It has captured only from this destination MAC address. What is the destination MAC address, which has been shown here? You can see destination MAC address of the default gateway, my router. This. What is the source MAC address? MAC address of my system. MAC address of my system. So what is the MAC address of my system? We already have seen in this particular command. ipconfig/all pipip2 more. So you can see this is my MAC address, which has been written here E454 E8CC DCE3. So this is the MAC address of my system. So at data link layer, this part, source MAC, destination MAC, source MAC, length of this header. So length of this header is what? So here they will say whether length they have written or not. Length part is, no, they have not mentioned here. It is captured, but they are not showing here, right? Okay. After that, it says that this is the next packet. So this packet is nothing. This particular up to here Internet protocol. This is actually data for this Ethernet, right? And you can see this is actual frame. Some frame they are giving. In that something is written. So this is for Wireshark to do, right? So you understood here. We can see each and every packet here in this network. We can see each and every packet in this network. Okay, so what I will do here, let us try to see the next slides here. I will share these slides. I will open the other slides here, which is of Wireshark. This, let me close. What is this? Yeah. So let me open the slides of Wireshark. So Wireshark, as I told you, it's a network traffic capture tool. We have a command line tool also, and that is for Linux. See, Wireshark is what? Web graphical interface. Sorry, graphical interface. What you can see in the Wireshark, right? This is the graphical user interface. Now you want the same thing using command also, command based. So we have a TCP dump software in Linux. Using that, you can capture your network traffic. For example, if I have a Ubuntu machine with me, let me open Ubuntu here. This is Ubuntu, right? here in Ubuntu, what I'll say, I'll just log in. Okay, so let me close this and open the terminal. This is the terminal, right? Here I want to show you. Let me switch as a root so that I can easily capture the network traffic. So now I'm a root here. Now what I'll do here, I'll show you TCP dump. This is the command line tool to capture the network traffic. So TCP dump, and then you would specify the interface on your system, right? The interface. Now what interface I have on my system, we have a command. The network interface I'm talking about. What network interface is there in my system? I have a command, ifconfig pipe it to more. In Windows, we type ipconfig to know the IP address. Here, to know the IP address of my system, I'll type what? ifconfig pipe it to more. So this is what is the IP address, and this is the interface of my Linux network card, right? Which is there in the Linux virtualization interface. So this I'll type. I'll say TCP dump minus IENP0S3. So on this interface, full network traffic will be captured, right? I'll say enter. Now you can see a lot of traffic which is going from this system to other, right? Lot of traffic is going from this system to other, right? So all the traffic is been captured here. You can see a lot of traffic has been captured. So this is what is TCP dump. This is what is TCP dump. Now let us see what TCP dump will give. So we have two network traffic capture tool. Number one is TCP dump. This is actually command based. It is on Linux. We don't have TCP dump on Windows, right? And we have Wireshark. Wireshark is there for each and every operating system, Linux, Mac, or Windows. For any operating system, Wireshark is available. Now TCP dump. This TCP dump we have run already. This particular command, TCP dump minus I, then interface name. This kind of traffic it has shown here. Let us see the meaning of that traffic. So this is traffic which is showing here. So this is nothing, it's a timestamp. This part is nothing, it's a timestamp, right? Next part will show you the protocol. It's a network layer IP protocol has been used, right? A network layer IP protocol is used. Next part will show you the source host name or IP address, right? And after that, we'll show you what is the source port. So for SSH, it is always as a 22, right? And what is the destination host name? What is the destination port? And then this is related to TCP, right? You can see ACK flag is shown here, right? ACK flag and sequence number, acknowledgement number, whatever is there, it is showing here. So this is how you can capture a network traffic using TCP dump, which we have seen. You have some other options also. For example, I want to capture only UDP traffic in Linux. I want to capture only UDP traffic. So I'll say TCP dump minus I ENP0S3. This is the interface. And then I'll say UDP. So only UDP traffic it will capture. See, this is only UDP traffic. You can see everywhere only UDP traffic will be mentioned, right? This is the UDP traffic. So this is the UDP traffic. This is all UDP traffic. Domain means port 53 DNS UDP traffic, right? This is showing only UDP. Suppose I want only specific applications UDP traffic. So I'll say UDP port 53 means what? DNS queries and responses I'm seeing. UDP port 53 means what? DNS. Now I'm filtering here. So only DNS it will show you. So if any UDP port 53 traffic is going, it will show you. So let us try to generate some traffic for UDP and then see. So I'll say we have a command called nslookup, and then I'll say www.cdac.in. To know the IP address of this domain name, this is the command what I'm using. So I'm sending a UDP query to DNS server to know the IP address of this particular website. So if I say enter, it will generate the UDP traffic, and then you can see that we have seen the UDP traffic. So only UDP traffic of DNS server it is showing here. DNS related UDP traffic on port number 53 it is showing here. So you can filter your search, right? You can filter your search. So you can see here what it is mentioned. What is the IP address for www.cdag.in, right? And then you can say the response has come. The IP address for cdag.in is this, right? The IP address of cdag.in is this, you can see. So IPv4 and IPv6 both answer. So this is how you can filter, you can capture TCP traffic and filter that. The filtering can be enabled in Wireshark also. How you will do that? So in Wireshark, here you have something called display filter. But before that, you have something called capture filter. If you are capturing what traffic you are capturing. Suppose you are capturing something, I want to only capture UDP traffic. So what I'll write? Capture filter. So you can see here, this is what is called as a capture filter, right? So how to open this capture filter? You click on this particular button. If you click on this particular button, this button, right? This button. If you click on that, and then it will show you that this is your capture filter. So what you want to capture? I want to capture something called UDP port 53, means DNS traffic I want to capture. Here also only DNS I want to capture, or I want to capture only HTTP traffic. So I'll say TCP port HTTP, means only website access, whatever I'm doing, it will try to capture. So let us try to start this. So this is a capture filter, means it will capture only HTTP traffic, no other traffic will be capturing. So if it is HTTP traffic, you capture, show me here. If other traffic, you please send it. Don't capture it. Send it to kernel. That's all. So this I'm doing here. If you say start, I am continuing with saving, because the earlier whatever we have seen, whether you want to save that or not, I don't want to save it. Now, if I will browse any website, then that will be shown here. So let me try to browse a website here. Okay, so I will browse a website here. Sorry. Yeah, this one only. This one. Oh, a lot of things are open. This one. What is it? Why it is not getting open? Let me see. Yes, now it's open. So here I will say www.facebook.com. I'm opening this website and I am now capturing my live traffic. If I say enter, the facebook.com is opened. Now, if you see the Wireshark, which we have opened here, lot of traffic we have captured, which is actually HTTP traffic. So HTTP, what protocol they'll use? TCP only they'll use. We'll stop it and you'll see that the HTTP is using what? TCP protocol, right? Always they'll use TCP protocol, right? So this is only TCP traffic what we have captured. TCP traffic what we have captured. Okay. And this is what capture filter. And other thing is what display filter. So what we'll do now, this is capture filter. Let me remove this filter. Again, start capturing everything. I'm capturing everything, all. So this is whatever we are communicating, whatever presentation I'm giving through WebEx, this traffic is also shown here. And then apart from that, sorry, if I am browsing something here, suppose I'll say www.cisco.com, right? That traffic also it will be capturing, right? So this cisco.com traffic also will be captured. So I'll say stop. Now this is already captured. Now I want to see only some traffic, not all. So this is called a display filter, right? So I'll say that UDP, or I'll say TCP dot port is equal to 443. If I say enter, so only HTTP traffic which has been given. TCP port 443 means what? HTTP traffic. So this is what the HTTP traffic I have seen. So this is nothing, it's a display filter. Captured all, but displaying only few, right? Captured all the traffic, but displaying here only few which you have selected here. Again, you want only UDP, then say UDP dot port is equal to 53. So this is the DNS traffic, right? DNS query. You can see port 53 means all standard DNS queries. You can see, right? So this is nothing. It's a capture. No, it's actually display filter, not capture filter. Capture filter, when you start capturing, that time you would give. This is only to show. If you close this, now it will show all the packets which has been captured here for you, right? So this is all the packets which has been captured for you, which is being shown here. Now let us see here what else we can do in the Wireshark. What I will do here, I will try to browse some website. Let us first capture only TCP port 80. So I'll say TCP capture filter. I'm saying TCP port 80 means only HTTP website, not HTTPS. Those websites only I'm capturing, right? What demo I'm showing you, I want to know the password of someone, right? Through Wireshark. Password of someone through Wireshark. Someone will browse using HTTP. They'll say the username and password that will be shown here to you. So TCP port 80, I'm just capturing now. You say start. Continue without steering. Now capturing only HTTP traffic, and then I will go to internet here and say here HTTP login websites. This I'm saying because see here, this login page will always use HTTP, right? So you can see the site is not secure. You can see HTTPS is not there. You can see it is a not secure connection, is not secure. You can see this connection is not secure, means it's only HTTP website, right? And the same is been captured here. You can see it has been captured. Now what I'll say, I will type the username. I'll type some username. Suppose I'll say username is Chaitanya. Password is I'll say Ravi Kant Singh, something I'm typing. So username and password in HTTP website, it will go in plain text, clear text. It is not encrypted. So that we want to capture, right? It's still capturing. Now if I say login, now it is capturing that and it has captured. Let us try to stop it. It has captured the traffic. Now what I will do here, I will display filter. I'll type something and then I'll say frame contains what it contains, this website name, suppose World Web something. Frame contains World Web. Those frame only you show. So I'm displaying now, capturing only HTTP, stopped it. Now display printer, I'm saying that you show me the website whose, or you show me the name where the website name is World Web. So this, you can see this, it has shown. So this only it has shown, right? Now what I'll say, I will say that follow, right click on that packet and say follow TCP stream, follow the full stream, reassemble all the packets, right? We have 4, 5, 6 packets, reassemble all packets and show what page you have got it. So if you say follow TCP stream, this will be shown to you, right? This will be shown to you. Here, do we have a password? PASS. Password. It is there. I'll say next. The name, password, and whether we got the password which we have typed or not. Let us see. No, it's same thing, only is showing that password is not captured. Oh, still it is going on. Same only is showing, right? Okay, so what we'll do here, we'll display this TCP stream, and then we'll say that any of the packet will try to see follow TCP stream. First packet we are seeing, not first, last packet only we'll see. Last packet TCP packets where we got something, right? In the last packet, follow TCP stream. Here do we got the password? We'll just see here, EASS. Same only it is showing, right? Here also is not there. Let us see. The password might be captured, but somewhere else. This we'll see. Okay. Okay, it is not showing. I will again say frame contains, or let us try to again capture. I will capture again. Okay. I'll say start capturing packets, continue without saving. Right. Okay. Chaitanya is telling follow post method. Okay, we can follow that also, no issue. Again, we start capturing. It is capturing. We'll go to some other website. We'll go to some other website. This website, let us try to go. And this also, let us see. Yeah, here we'll type something. Let me type Sanjay password. Sanjay1234. Say login. Okay, so whether we got something or not, let us try to solve. And then I'll say frame contains for a frame contains and the name of the frame was this website test something, is a test and these many are there, and there a lot of things are there. Login, this is login page. This is what post, all are get only, post it is not showing. Okay, here also it might not show. Let us see. It's not there. Okay, we'll follow the same what Chaitanya told me. Follow the post method. Why is that? Right click on this any, or let me close this and then post method will be frame contains post. Frame contains post. No, it's not showing. These are the tests. Let me see, follow stream. Typing my name, it's not coming at all. Okay, let me type here. Frame contains Sanjay. Whether Sanjay is there. It is not capturing that. Now, was it secure website? Is it secure website? Let us see whether it's secure, then it will not capture. No, it's not secure. Okay. Anyway, so this is the method. Anyway, for me, it is not working. You can try it out. You have to only type that frame contains what is the URL which you are using. That URL, if you type here, only a few characters of the URL, if you type in that, you have a post method. There you are posting username and password there, right? So it may work there in that case. I don't know. I might be doing something wrong. Leave it. So let me stop it. This is all about Wireshark, right? This is all about Wireshark. If you have any further queries on the Wireshark, this how it is getting packet captured, or how to view those packets and all, we can have a discussion, right? Now let me move to the next topic here. Let me move to the next topic here. I'll just close this. I'll close this Wireshark and I'll close everything. Let us move to the next topic here in this. It is called network vulnerability scanner. So this topic, you want to scan the network vulnerability inside your network, right? Or to some operating system. The vulnerability you want to see, you want to analysis on the vulnerabilities. Now, what do you mean vulnerabilities? We'll just see here in the next few slides. So this already you know. We have the features of security. Yesterday we discussed about the same: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The confidentiality means your data should not be read by unauthorized users, right? Whereas integrity says that your data should be intact. It should not be modified by unauthorized parties, right? Again, availability says that whenever you want to access your data, it should be always available to you. Whenever you want to access any web service or service on the internet, it should be available to you. So these three important security properties are there in your network, or you can say in your system. It should be there in your system. Now, let us see some of the definitions here. What do you mean by attack? What do you mean by threat? What do you mean by vulnerability? Now, threat is nothing. It's a potential violation of our security. For example, we can say that we have a threat on our prime minister, right? We have a threat. We have a threat of, say, the terrorist activities can happen on him. Suppose there is a threat. Now, threat, if it is there, then we have to know what do you mean by vulnerability. The weaknesses, right? The weaknesses, it is always called here as a vulnerability. The weaknesses inside your software, inside your hardware, or inside your network. What are the weaknesses? What are the vulnerabilities? So you are running of an application. Suppose that is a web server. That web server is having a weaknesses. What is that weakness? That weakness is called, suppose, say, SQL injection. Now, what is SQL injection? Using some pattern, you can actually insert something inside the database or SQL database, right? And you can get actually the unauthorized access to the website. So this is nothing, it's a weakness, right? So that weakness in any application, any software, or any your network, it is always called as a vulnerability, right? Now, attack, what is attack? The people, the hackers actually, if they use the weaknesses and those weaknesses they exploited using some tools and they got your system access, then that is called is an attack. A well-defined set of actions, if it is successful, would result in either damaging of your asset or some undesirable operations, right? This is what is called an attack. So you have three terms. Number one is a threat. It's a potential violation of the security, right? So if my system, if I assign a public IP address to my system, I'm talking about my system, right? If this system, I'm assigning a public IP address and I am putting it on the internet, I have something called a threat, right? A threat says that your system is publicly exposed. Now, if threat is there, then the attacker will try to find out the weaknesses on my system, because attackers know that this system is there on the internet, right? And people can use this some vulnerability to attack this system. Now they will see whether I have vulnerability or not in the system. So they have some methods. A lot of tools are available which will show you whether I have weaknesses or vulnerabilities in my system or not. One of the tools is what Nessus will be doing that in the next few slides, after a few slides, right? So those weaknesses, if they are able to find it out, they will try to target those weaknesses. How? They will do some attack. They will have well-known exploits they will use to overcome or to say exploit that particular vulnerability, and they will try to get the access of my system. So this is what is the meaning of threat, vulnerability, and the attack. 1 minute, let me share. Yeah. Now there are threats to the assets. Now you have hardware. What is the threats to hardware? The hardware can be stolen, can be broken, or it can be disabled, right? So that it is not working. So these are the threats to the hardware. What about software? What are the threats on the software. Software can be deleted, it can be modified, copied. Why? To do unintended task, right? To do unintended task. Now, what are threats to your data? Data what? Data can be deleted, it can be disclosed, it can be modified or read. And we have a threat to the communication lines, right? For example, in CDAC Bangalore, we are using something called Anken ISP. Our ISP is National Knowledge Network. Right? So people, the hacker can do wiretapping and they can see the network traffic. They can capture the network traffic using Wireshark. They can see what actually is happening in the CDAC, what communication is happening. So that can be, there is a threat to the communication lines also. Now next, if you see here, what types of classes there for the hackers, right? So we have a lot of classes or types of hacker. Number one hacker type is what? Black hat hacker. Now what do you mean by black hat hacker? Black hat hacker is nothing, it's a person which is having some very good skills, computing skills, and using those skills he want to target some system for gaining some, say, financial benefit or something like that. So this is what is called a black hat hacker. Now we have something called white hat hacker. White hat hacker will be always called as a penetration tester. So they will try to attack the organization's website to find that whether that any vulnerability is there in that organization or in that particular system or not, right? So it is called a white hat hacker, means those are penetration tester. Now you have something called gray hat hackers. Now what is gray hat hackers? Gray hat hackers nothing, it is a combination of black hat and white hat. So what they will do, suppose I am the employee of CDAC, today I am a white hat hackers, tomorrow I will go to some other organization and then I know in and out of CDAC, I can try to attack this CDAC, right? I know the so many vulnerabilities, weaknesses, which I already discussed with our team members or our higher authorities, right? So I will become black hat hacker, and for financial benefit, I will try to hack CDAC. So I'll become a gray hat, right? So earlier I was a white hat, then I become black hat. Then you have something called suicide hackers. Now, suicide hackers is nothing, those people who actually don't know what is the consequences of the hacking, right? They are doing for some fun and try to hack some website. If they have been caught, then they'll be called as a suicide hackers, right? So what are the steps of hacking? If you want to do hacking, if you want to become a penetration tester, what are the basic steps you need to follow? I have listed here. Number one step is what? Is reconnaissance, recon, right? Reconnaissance. What is a reconnaissance? Reconnaissance says that you need to gather a lot of information, right, about the target. For example, I want to hack, say, CDAC.in, www.cdac.in, right? So I will do a lot of information gathering about that particular website called www.cdac.in, right? So morning, Pravesh might have told you that you have something called WHOIS database. Using DNS lookups, you can find out the IP addresses and all, right? And even you can do some social engineering to find out more information about CDAC.in to some of the employees of CDAC.in, right? You can do social engineering on those guys to get a lot of information about the CDAC. Once you got plenty of information, then next step is what? You need to scan the network, scan the IP addresses which you have obtained during the phase of recon, right? So that is called scanning. Now in scanning, what you're doing, you got the list of IP addresses which you want to target, right? And then you say scan those IP addresses to find out what kind of network services are available on those particular IP addresses, which we have found out during the process of recon. So this is what is called scanning. So the output of scanning will be what? You will get a list, a report, which will show you that you have this IP address and this IP address is having this many ports open or this many network services which is running, right? Which can be exploited, which can be targeted. So this is the phase of what you call as a scanning phase. Now next is gaining access. you need to gain an access to that particular scanning report, what you have made. So in the report, we said that, okay, we got this IP address and this IP address is having these many vulnerabilities. And these are the tools you can use to exploit those vulnerabilities, right? So that is nothing, this is part of the gaining, right? Gaining process. So use some tools and try to target that IP address, and then you will be getting some access. For example, if you're targeting a SSH server which is running, right, that SSH server will have buffer overflow problem, which will give you a root shell, right? So you can get a root access to the system. So this is called gaining access. Once you have gained the access of that particular system, what is your next step is retaining access. You want to maintain the access for that, so that in future no need to follow the same steps. You use the same system. Already I have put some backdoor, and using that backdoor I will access that system. So that is called retaining access. You need to put a backdoor in that system which you access, so that future you can easily access that system. Even though people might have patched those vulnerabilities, you will have some access. So putting backdoor is nothing, it is a part of retaining access. So once you retain the access, last is what? You need to cover or clear the tracks, right? Whatever thing you did for hacking, suppose it has generated some logs, it has generated some say events. Those logs or events has to be cleared. So you have to manually go to those logs and clear that, right? So suppose I have targeted SSH, all the SSH logs I will remove, I will clear it, right? So this is called covering tracks. So these are the phases of ethical hacking: reconnaissance, gaining access, then scanning, right? You have to scan those IP addresses, and then you get to know that these are the vulnerabilities. You need to exploit those vulnerabilities using something called gaining access, right? Once you gain the access, you put a backdoor so that in future you can easily access that, and you should clear the tracks. Okay. So information gathering. So a lot of tools are available to gather information. For example, go to the websites of the crack.in, try to find out what kind of IP address they are using. So we have something called Whoislookup, right? Whoislookup will tell you that what is the contact person of that particular domain name or the IP address, right? What is the range of the IP address which is given to the organization crack.in? Everything you'll get from something called Whoislookup. So this is nothing, it's footprinting. Information gathering is nothing, it's called as a footprinting. You have to gather a lot of information, collect all this information and keep it with you for next phase. This is called scanning. So we have a type of information gathering which is called footprint printing. You have active and passive. Passive means what? You have to do the scanning or sorry, information gathering on using some websites or using some Whoislookup, DNS lookup or whatever. Whereas in active, you have to actually do social engineering with some employees of that organization where you want to hack, right? You have to make telephone call, you send email address, lot of things you have to do, which is called active scanning or active footprinting. So tools for footprinting, this has already been covered by, I guess, Pravesh. You have NSLookup for DNS lookup, NSLookup and both are for DNS lookup. Then you have Whois, right, which will show you what are the list of range of IP address which is held by a particular organization. This Whoislookup will tell. For example, I'll just check the Whoislookup for crack.in. So let me open here www.google.com. Inside that, I'll type Whoislookup. Right, Whoislookup. So I'll use one of them. I'll use Whoislookup, which is from, say, ICANN. Let us try to use this tool, Whoislookup method. Okay, so here what they are mentioning, you can type only domain. Here, see here, yeah. Here we'll see that I'll say for www.crack.in, www.crack.in, you please give me the Whoislookup, right? So it is saying that you need authentication whether you are a genuine guy or not. So bicycles, let us see how many bicycles we are able to see here. I can see only 2 bicycles. Okay. The bicycle here bikes are there, no bicycles. Traffic signals, yeah, traffic signals are. Now it is doing whois lookup on that particular IP address, and then it has shown me. See, cdag.in for this domain name. This is the organization, right? Inside in registry, in domain name, right? And you can see here a lot of information. What is mentioned here? This location. This is the IP address for cdag.in, right? This is the IP address what I got it. This is in Karnataka, right? In Bangalore, Kanakpura. You can say it is mentioning Kanakpura, nearest location, right? And apart from that, what we can get here, a lot of other information. Okay, this is only giving up to this. That's all. So I got the location, I got the actual IP address, right? Which I could have got from DNS lookup also. So this whois lookup is only giving this much information. That's all. Who is the domain name server for this? It is showing, right? Okay. If I do whois lookup for, say, only cdag.in, only cdag.in. I'm not typing www. I am saying cdag.in. For cdag.in also, it has given this information. Okay. Okay. Only one IP address that is been given. Okay. This, whatever is provided by this particular website, very limited information about this giving. Right. You have some other website, you can try and get the information. So this is nothing. It's a whois lookup. Then you have something called trace route. Trace route is nothing. It is used to find out how many hops are available between source to destination. For example, I'll say CMD, right? And say trace ROUTE, trace route to the IP address which I found for cdag.in using whois. Let us use the same IP address to find out the trace route. I want to find out the routing between my system to this particular IP address. So how many network paths are there? Trace route. Okay, it should be trace RT. Trace RT. Then 196.196.1.113.45. So here it is doing trace RT. This is the command for Windows. It will check how many hops are there between my system to that other system, right? So one hop is this, my default gateway. Did you see here? Ali, you was already seen this. This is my default gateway, means my router. After that, it is not giving me access because at my firewall, I have disabled this feature of trace route, right? I have disabled the feature of trace route. So it will continuously do 30 hops and it will show you the results. For me, after that, it is not going anywhere. But it will show you how many hops, how many routers are there between my system up to this particular IP address of cdag.in, right? This cdag.in, this particular is there in cdag Pune. So is there in the Pune. So between Bangalore to Pune, how many hops are there, how many routers will come, this particular command will show you. Okay, so this is done. Now let us move to the next slide here. Whois we already seen. These are some references for whois lookup. A lot of websites are available. Using those, you can do whois lookup. Trace route we have seen. Now scanning, I guess already it has been covered by Pravesh. But let me use a tool called Nessus here for scanning of network vulnerability on any system, right? So Nessus, let us try to use. So Nessus is this here, Nessus. So how to download and install Nessus on your system? Let us try to download and install Nessus on your system. So what is Nessus? Nessus actually will show you the vulnerability on any system. So to use Nessus, we have to download it. So how to download? You type on Google that please install Nessus. Nessus has to be installed on Linux, right? So what I'll use my Linux Ubuntu here. This Ubuntu I'm using. In Ubuntu, I will install Nessus. Yeah, so here I will install Nessus. So for that, here I'll open a web browser. And then on the web browser, I am typing google.com and then say here download Nessus. Download Nessus, right? Okay. So this is the website, tenable.com. This is the official website for Nessus. From this website only you download. Click on this download Nessus in this website, tenable.com. Okay, so the Nessus is having actually 2 versions. So if I say Nessus, 3 versions are there. NASSUS, NANESSUS, Nessus. So here, if you see, there are 3 versions of Nessus. This is the home website. You can see the Nessus family. You have Nessus Essential, Nessus Professional, and then again one more is there, tenable.io, right? We are looking for Essential because it is freely available and you can scan up to 16 IP addresses. In free version, you can scan up to 16 IP addresses. So it says that it can be used for free training and guidance. So this Nessus Essential only will try to use it. So this Essential can be downloaded using this website, same website. You click on this particular version of Ubuntu. I'll show you which version you would select. This version you have to select, Ubuntu 20.04, right? Ubuntu 20.04. So our Ubuntu is what? 20.04. For that only, we have to select this particular version. Click on this. It is asking for the agreement. We'll use the agreement here. I'll say I'll agree. And now it is downloading the Nessus. I'll say save it on my desktop. So it is downloading now. It is downloaded very fast. It is downloaded. Now, if you see here, I will open the terminal. Yesterday we already covered Linux, so we are familiar with it. So inside the terminal, what I'll do, I will say that cd, or I'll log in as a normal user. From there only we are downloaded. So we'll say that under download, it is stored. You can see under download, we have already downloaded this Nessus, right? We have to install it. So how to install it? You have a method dpkg-i Nessus. This is the command which you have to use to install Nessus on Ubuntu. dpkg-i means install, and this is the file which we have downloaded. It's a .dav. Okay, so it requires the sudo privileges. I'll say home and say sudo this, right? Sudo this, and say enter. It will ask for sudo password osboxes.org. This I'm typing. Now you see Nessus is getting installed on my system, on Ubuntu system, right? So it is taking core component and all, and now it has been installed. It says that you can start the Nessus by this command, right? So Nessus, we have to start it, and then if you want to configure Nessus, go to this website. Means it is website which is hosted here in this local Ubuntu system. So you say systemctl start and say Nessus service, enter. Now it is asking the password, sudo password. I'll type here. Now the service is started. If service is started, click on this link. Your Nessus console you will be able to access. You copy this link and say copy this link, paste it to your browser. So I'll open a tab in that browser I'm pasting. Now you can see Nessus is started. I'm able to access Nessus, which is installed on my system, right? So OS boxes is my system name, this Ubuntu system name. So it has, because it is HTTPS, it has created a self-signed certificate. That's why it is asking whether you want to really browse that website or not, because that website is not trusted. I'll say advanced and say I accept this risk and then continue. So once you accept the risk and continue, this will show you. This is the first page of this Nessus. So you need to configure Nessus. For the configuration, it says that what you want. You want Nessus Essential or Professional. Essential for free usage. So I'll use Nessus Essential only. You say continue. Now it is asking. So to use Essential, you need an activation code. The activation code is required to use this Nessus. So you have to type your valid username and password. I'll say Sanjay. Right? Last name, I'll say Adiwal. Email address. I'll type my Gmail address. I'll type my Gmail address. Or I'll type, I will type my other address, Yahoo address. Gmail, I have two-factor authentication, which I don't have in Yahoo. I'll use Yahoo here. Right? So any email address you can type here. I'm typing Yahoo. I'll say now email. So what it will do, they will send an email with this activation code. Now they are emailing us the activation code. Let us see whether I got the activation code or not. So I'll open my email, mail.yahoo.com. Inside Yahoo, I'll just see whether I got that. Sign in. And now here I'll say Yahoo Sanjay Adiwal. The password is asking of Yahoo password. I am typing that password. So you can see here I got one message from Nessus. I got a message on an email from Nessus. That email is getting opened. It's taking time now. Why it is taking? It has opened. So some code it has been given to me. You can see this is the code which I can use. This is the activation code. I'll just copy this code, and the code I will paste here on that browser here, right? OS boxes colon 8443. My system, local system. I'll paste this activation code, right? So this is done. I'll say continue. Now it is asking username and password. Now the Nessus is activated. It is asking to create the username and password to access this Nessus. So I'll say I'll use as a user Sanjay. Password is Sanjay123. This is the password of this Nessus to access. Once this is done, actually what it is doing now, it is downloading some of the plugins, right? It will download a lot of plugins or the plugins which will be used to see the vulnerability of any system, right? So this process will take at least say 1 hour, half an hour to 1 hour it will take, right? So I already have this one running setup that I'll show you now. So I'll access that running setup and I'll show you. So what I'll do, I'll say access my system, which is somewhere, and then that running setup I'll show you. So here I have this VirtualBox, Ubuntu. Inside Ubuntu, I have Nessus. Yeah, this is the Nessus, right? So Nessus, the login. I have this working system. Other system, actually what it is happening, it is downloading all the plugins, which will take some time. So already plugins are downloaded here in this system, and I'm scanning. So you can see, you can scan any of the system in the network, right? You can scan any of the system in the network. So what I'm going to scan here, I'll say new scan. So this is the window of Nessus, right? This is the web service where I can see this is the website of my Nessus. I'll say the new scan. If you want to scan, you scan anything. So what you want to scan? I want to do the host discovery inside network. So inside my network, how many hosts are up and running? I'll click on this. It will scan the full network and show me how many hosts are running. So this already I have done. If you see here my scans, I have done the host discovery here only, right? So here you can see so many hosts are running in my network. These many hosts are running in my network, right? And these many ports are open in those networks. These many ports are open in this network. Okay. Now let us find out the vulnerability. These are only ports which has been opened. Let us find out the vulnerability. If I see here, I have done one scanning here, or we can try to do one more scanning. Basic network scan will do. Basic network scan. And here any name you can give. I will say that this is basic scan or proxy server. Proxy server. Or I'll say gateway scan. So you know what is my gateway? Demo. For demo I'm scanning. So what is the gateway IP address? I will type my gateway IP address 182.2.1, right? This I'll say save, and then the gateway I'll say play, launch the scan. Play means what? You have to launch the scan. Now on the gateway, it will try to find out any vulnerability is there on the gateway or not. 2.1 is what? Is a gateway. On that gateway, any vulnerability, if it is finding, it will show me here in this particular window. So I already have done, so this will take some time, right? It's scanning. This will take some time. Already I have scanned one system. You can see this is the scan. If you click on this, lot of weaknesses, vulnerabilities is mentioned here. You can see 9 critical weaknesses, which is immediately has to be patched. 8 high weaknesses, 30 medium weaknesses, 5 low weaknesses, and again I have 129 information. So let us see the vulnerability which I have found on this particular system 3.234. This is one system. On that 9 critical vulnerabilities are found. So you can see lot of vulnerabilities are there. These are the 9 critical vulnerabilities. It says that it has a backdoor already there. So it has a backdoor. So bind shell backdoor detection. So already one backdoor is there. This is the shell which is running, and hacker can use this backdoor to come inside. Backdoor is what? Hacker will access this particular shell on this port. Immediately access will be given. It will not ask the username and password, right? So this is very critical. So this is the backdoor. Okay, what else vulnerability is given? In SSL, one vulnerability is given, right? It says that open SSL package random number generator weakness. So this is the weakness, right? How to patch that weakness? Solution has been given. How to patch that weakness? The solution is been given, right? And these are the weaknesses. It says information about that weakness. Any exploit is available? Yes, on the internet, the exploit for that weakness is available. Hacker can use this exploit to target the system, to attack the system, right? So this weakness, when it has come, it has announced in this particular year, 2008. Very old weakness is there that can be easily exploited, right? So this is of SSL. What else? We have already seen backdoor. Now NFS, one more weakness is there, NFS, right? NFS. At least one of the NFS share exports by remote server could be mounted by scanning host. So anybody can mount, means can access the share which is being shared by this particular system, right? So that should not be shared. So this is the sharing information. What else? We have some service detection. Some services there. This was the service designed to allow the network to execute command remotely. See, this service, one service R execute, some service is there, right? This service is designed to allow the user of a network to execute command remotely. So from my system, I can remotely execute one command here, right? So this is one more weakness. It's a critical weakness which has to be patched. VNC server password. One more critical weakness is there. One VNC server is running on that system, and the default password only is set on that system. So VNC server means remote access, right? Remote access server. So on the system, remote access server is running, and password is only password. It's very critical vulnerability which has to be patched. Means you change the password. So likewise, these are the vulnerabilities, and you have some mixed vulnerabilities, high vulnerabilities, and all. A lot of vulnerabilities are shown using our tool called Nessus. So this is the first step for targeting any system. You find out the vulnerability and check whether any exploit is available on the internet, find out the exploit, and then try to target, right? Okay, let us see our scan, whether scan has been finished. Yeah, this scan is now done. Click on this. It says 2 medium vulnerabilities, 3 low vulnerabilities, 24 information. Now, what are those 2 vulnerabilities? It says IP forwarding is enabled. So this gateway is nothing, it's a firewall. In that, IP forwarding is enabled. If you are not using IP forwarding, please disable it. Right? So it's a medium vulnerability. What else is there? Unencrypted telnet server. So here one telnet server is running, which is unencrypted. So if people are accessing this telnet server, the telnet server will ask username and password that gets sniffed, and people will get to know the password of the telnet server. Right? So this unencrypted telnet server should be replaced by SSH server. This is medium vulnerability, right? So you have some low vulnerability DHCP server is running and all this, and some information they are giving, right? OS identification. What is the OS which is running here? This is Cisco IOS running on that particular system, right? So this is all about Nessus. Any question? If you have, please write in this chat window. Any question do you have? Any question? Okay, then. So I'm done with today's session. If you have any question in the future, you can mail me onto this email ID. I'll just mention my email ID here. I'll just close this here in the slides. My email ID is mentioned here. So in this email ID, you can post your questions. Any question related to today's session or yesterday's session, you can mail me here. I'll try to answer. Right. So thank you very much. Okay, then. Thank you very much. I'm just signing off. Thank you all. Thank you, Pravesh. And thank you, Naresh.